Like earlier today, I had a client and he said, I don't really want to use Face ID and I don't really care about Touch ID and I definitely don't want to use Apple Pay. And I said, well, why don't you want to use Apple Pay? Why would I want to? He asks me. Why is Apple Pay a good thing? Because anytime you hand anybody your credit card, a waiter, a waitress, a gas station attendant, they could very easily swipe it in a little magnetic thing and get your card number, your information, and try to go use your card.
Yes, I'm paranoid about that too.
Right. So if you have that credit card in your wallet on your phone and it is connected to Apple Pay and you can use Apple Pay at the grocery store or wherever, you don't hand them your card. You use your phone and your Touch ID or your Face ID to approve it, and then that vendor gets a randomly generated number that guarantees payment from Apple. They don't get your credit card number. They don't get your name. They don't get any personal information about you. They just get promised to have payment. Therefore, Apple's the only company that has your information, and Apple is extremely secure because they offer this level of service. But we hear about like Home Depot got hacked and they got 1 million credit card numbers from Home Depot. Target got hacked and they got 1 million credit card numbers from Target. Well, if you'd use Apple Pay, Target wouldn't have your credit card number.
Wow.
All right, if you used Apple Pay at Home Depot, they wouldn't have your credit card number. So, I mean, do you really want to trust every business in the world with your personal information? Apple's already got that so that you can pay for your 99 cents a month. I mean, you got to have some sort of payment option within Apple anyway. And then if you use Apple Pay, everything's coming off the same card. So you can look at one bill to kind of see what's going on. But it's that security part. It's that safety part.
Hey, Siri. What does JMac fix?
JMac fixes everything.
Coming to you from the Owl's Nest Studios in Portland, Oregon, it's JMac Fixes Everything, where we answer your tech questions and discuss all things Apple. For valuable, actionable, real-world Apple advice that you can count on, look no further than JMac Fixes Everything. Now here's your hosts, Jamie Pollock and Audrey Isbell.
Hello, everybody. Welcome aboard episode 4. Here we are, me and Audrey Isbell. Say hi to everybody. Audrey.
Hi, everybody.
So how are we doing this week? How are we feeling? Are we, I know at the end of the episode last time you said, I have so many questions, don't go. And I gave you that one last question about, hey, Siri. Oh.
Right? Well, I am at so much more peace after that conversation because I don't know what was happening with me, but I was so paranoid last week.
Yeah, it happens.
It's not like I'm talking about a whole bunch of stuff that people can't hear. It's just like all of a sudden I'm like, oh my gosh, am I going to be one of those?
Twice since we've had that conversation, I've had something show up in my Facebook feed as an ad that I was just like, how did it know that? Like, you know, I didn't search for it. I mentioned it to the neighbor over the fence, and then all of a sudden I'm getting ads for it. So I'm going to say one thing about that conversation real quick. Of course, I'm an Apple expert, and we were talking about Apple iPhones, watches, HomePods, and things like that. But other things could be listening too, and I didn't really say that. I just want to say again, if you have an Amazon Dot, you know, a Google Home, right? These are other smart speakers, and they have the same sort of capability, and they very well could be listening. Also, there was a very funny on NPR that there are musician artists making songs about poop, and they're making a ton of money by having songs with the word poop in the title because little kids get around the Amazon Dot and immediately just want to say dirty words and like, play a song about poop. And then it does it. And they're getting all these royalties. They're making all this money. And it's true. There's a niche of musical artists that are writing songs specifically because they know that little kids scream that word into an Amazon speaker and the parents aren't around. The song starts playing and they get royalties, and it's a thing. Last week, we talked about Apple IDs, right? And that you've got your Apple ID and it can be any email address and you got a password with it. But the confusion that email address could also be your Google login. It could be your Amazon login. It could be that email address can be used in multiple systems, but it's confusing that I'm using like a Gmail email for my Apple ID. Sometimes maybe you have a yahoo.com email and I'm using that to log into Google. And that can get really confusing. And not just for switchers, not just for Android to Apple switchers, but for everybody. Also, we had 2 topics that came up last episode that we said will come up in later episodes. And so I wanted to remind us what those were. Of course, there's the photos conversation, and that is huge. And I don't know if that's your priority, and if it is, that we can start talking photos.
Yeah.
And the other question was, where's my data? Where's my pants? Like we're on Lego movie, right? Where's my pants? Honey! Where's my data? Right?
Yeah, no, I'm good.
There we go. Where does my data go, or where's my data being stored? And the question that you asked that really signified that was, where's my backup? Am I backed up? So can we have a quick conversation about that, and then we'll jump into photos?
We would, because I don't like to really wait on this stuff too much, right? If we've touched on it, it's like you've got me thinking, right? And so since last time, I've been thinking more and more about my data and my library and where is everything and how can I get to it and quit. I want to quit using my Android as a crutch and be 100% moved over.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to put my phone up, and we're going to look at a couple things here real quick. So here is my lock screen. Look at this. This is super cool. There's my wonderful daughter, Grace. But you'll notice how her picture, her face, her head is in front of the time.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
And that's just part of it. I didn't do anything. I just put the picture there, and the lock screen did that for me, right? So, like, how cool is that? Like, that's just really kind of cool.
Really cool.
Okay, backing up on the iPhone. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go into my settings application, and we're going to go at the very top. It says James Pollock and Apple ID and iCloud. And now I'm going to go into my iCloud area right here. And right here I have iCloud backup. And it's on. Right? And this is kind of new. It's a new layout. So because iOS 16, it may look different from you, but it should have the same basic stuff. So do I want to back this phone up, or is iCloud backup turned on? And then down under the backup now button, last successful backup was at 1:45 a.m.
Wow. Okay.
Okay. Do you see that on your phone?
I'm trying to follow along here. I'm trying to find...
Let me go back. So we're in settings.
Okay, settings. I'm there.
And at the very top, you should see your name, and it says Apple ID iCloud.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Go into there.
iCloud. Got it.
Now, when you're in there, go into iCloud.
Okay.
And then scroll down till you see iCloud backup.
Got it. Okay, it does say it's on.
Okay, and it's on. And underneath the backup now button, what does it say last successful backup was?
Well, last successful backup was yesterday at 3:52 p.m.
There we go. Okay.
Wow.
And so just so you know, it says, let's see if it says it here. Okay, so they took it away, but it used to say, just to make sure you know, that there's 3 conditions for backing up, which is it's got to be on the Wi-Fi, it should be locked, and it should be plugged in. If you want to, you could force a backup now at any time. So if you're, if you're not plugged in and it's not whatever, and you just feel like you want it right now, you can hit backup now if you want to. Most of the time, mine does it at night, right? Because I put it on the charger when I go to bed, and so it's on the charger, it goes to sleep, it's locked, but it's still connected to the Wi-Fi, and then it does that backup.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And it's auto? Like it'll just do it?
It does it once a day. It tries to do it once a day, and you're just good to go. Now the question of where is it, right? Where's my data? So I'm gonna go back up a level. At the very top, here's my iCloud Plus area, and it says I'm using X number 500 gigs of 2 terabytes. So if I go manage account storage, and I come down to see what's being stored in my iCloud storage. Here's my backups right here, and if I tap on that and go into that, I can see that this iPhone has a 5.6 gigabyte backup, and my iPad has a 1.1 gigabyte backup in here.
Wowzies. Okay. I'm worried that I don't have enough room.
With your iCloud account, you get 5 gigs for free, but that's not enough for anybody. So you see where it says change storage plan? If you tap on that, it'll take you in. So basically your options are you can pay 99 cents a month and have 50 gigs. You can pay $2.99 a month and have 200 gigs, or you can pay $9.99 a month and have 2 terabytes.
Okay, so let's just say I'm not there yet, and I don't really need to pay for it until I need to pay for it. Will it alert me when?
Oh, yes, it will. The minute you don't have enough room, it will pop up and say, hey, you need to up your iCloud storage.
Excellent.
And honestly, within our photos conversation, you will put enough stuff in your iCloud that you will need to go to the 50 gigs. It's going to be inevitable. But then again, I'm going to try to subtly influence your thinking about cloud storage and where the photos
Subtly
live.
or not so subtly?
Well, I'm just going to be the good influence that I'm expected to be as the trainer and the mentor, and I can just be persuasive.
Excellent.
Like earlier today, I had a client, and he said, I don't really want to use Face ID, and I don't really care about Touch ID, and I definitely don't want to use Apple Pay. And I said, well, why don't you want to use Apple Pay? Why would I want to, he asks me. Why is Apple Pay a good thing? Because anytime you hand anybody your credit card, a waiter, a waitress, a gas station attendant, they could very easily swipe it in a little magnetic thing and get your card number, your information, and try to go use your card.
Yes, I'm paranoid about that too.
Right. So if you have that credit card in your wallet on your phone and it is connected to Apple Pay and you can use Apple Pay at the grocery store or wherever, you don't hand them your card. You use your phone and your Touch ID or your Face ID to approve it, and then that vendor gets a randomly generated number that guarantees payment from Apple. They don't get your credit card number. They don't get your name. They don't get any personal information about you. They just get promised to have payment. Therefore, Apple's the only company that has your information, and Apple is extremely secure because they offer this level of service. But we hear about like Home Depot got hacked and they got 1 million credit card numbers from Home Depot. Target got hacked and they got 1 million credit card numbers from Target. Well, if you'd use Apple Pay, Target wouldn't have your credit card number.
Wow.
All right, if you used Apple Pay at Home Depot, they wouldn't have your credit card number. So, I mean, do you really want to trust every business in the world with your personal information? Apple's already got that so that you can pay for your 99 cents a month. I mean, you got to have some sort of payment option within Apple anyway. And then if you use Apple Pay, everything's coming off the same card, so you can look at one bill to kind of see what's going on. But it's that security part, it's that safety part.
Just out of curiosity, when you're out in the world and you're using this Apple Pay situation, how often do you encounter, oh yeah, no, we don't have the Apple Pay available?
It's very common that somebody does not have Apple Pay.
Okay.
You know? So I'm going to go into my wallet here, right? And so here I've got my credit card right there. And all I have to do is go up to whatever counter I'm at, hold my phone up to it, and my phone will say, oh, do you want to use Apple Pay? If so, push the side button twice, push. And then it'll either read my face or use my Touch ID or ask my PIN code. And then it'll just say, hey, it worked, right? You paid.
Wow. Okay, I'm going to try this week.
Yeah.
I'll let you know how it goes.
It's very cool. It's very, very cool.
Sounds cool.
But that compelling reason, right? The compelling why. Why would I use this? Why do I care?
Well, I'll tell you why. Because my husband's been showing me videos of porch pirates, and I've suddenly become very paranoid. Like, there are thieves out in the world.
They are, and they follow the trucks around and wait like 2 blocks behind the truck, and then they come back and they want my imperfect produce. I know they do. Well, between the Hey Siri conversation and this one, you definitely have this streak of paranoia going on. Let's see if
it's just these last couple of weeks, really. I mean, I'm not the most paranoid person in the world, but you know,
it's not a constant state. It's
been
just
a lot of change in my life lately. And change will do that, right?
Yes, it will.
Like we talked about the emotional side of this.
And you were still having emotions. This is exactly what you said. I remember you said, I'm still having emotions. And I think you will continue to. That's totally fine. Okay. Next thing I want to just kind of cover real quick and make sure that you get is to finish up a conversation of the question, where's my data, right? You know, honey, where's my data? And this comes to play in another place. I'm going to go back into my settings application and go down a little ways until I see mail, contacts, and calendars and notes. Because those are the 4 things that, like in iCloud, right? I could have iCloud mail if I'm using something at iCloud.com, but you know, my contacts and my calendars and my notes are all syncing through my iCloud account. But if I go into contacts, I go into accounts, look at how many accounts I have. I've got iCloud and Gmail, 3 Gmails or whatever. And if you notice in this Gmail account right here, I am syncing my calendars and my contacts through this Gmail account. And so I'm going to go up to my iCloud and show you that, you know, also in iCloud, there we go. You know, you'll notice my contacts and my calendars and my notes are turned on here too. So I have one set of contacts that are being stored in the iCloud storage area, and then I have one set of contacts and or calendars that are being stored in the Google area.
Are they getting all commingled?
In a sense, yes. In a sense, no.
Okay.
And I'm also allowed to have an on my phone area, which is local, so that doesn't sync. I can say I just want them on this device and I don't want them to go to a cloud. But then I can't get them from other devices. So with this in mind, once I'm here, I need to make a decision. Like on this Gmail account, I don't want contacts and calendars and notes. But on this Gmail one, I do want calendars because it's my business email and we use business calendars.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's up to me to keep track of when I add a contact or if I add a calendar event, which calendar do I put it on? Do I put it in my Google Calendar? Do I put it in my iCloud calendar?
Oh, you just saved me so much pain.
So let's look at implementation.
I love
And by the way,
you. Thank you so much.
So this is a calendar app called WeekCal. I don't actually use the calendar app on my phone because I don't think it's as functional as I want. So I'm going to go in here and see if it'll do it or not. Ooh, it will not do it. It said no.
Vetoed.
Okay, so I'm not allowed to do that. So we will go ahead and look at the bottom, a new little search button that came in iOS 16. Boom, search. We'll open up the calendar. This is Apple's calendar app. This one did work. And this is what my day looks like. Look at all those beautiful colors and overlays, and this is a whole bunch of, look at this day by day. But if I go to calendar here, calendars, you'll notice here's my Jamie RWG, which is my Google, Royal Wise Google. And, there's my calendar and Jeff's calendar and Peyton's and yours and Alicia's and our class calendar and our recording studio. And if I come down here, here's my iCloud calendars for me, my family, my kids. And I used multiple calendars this way for color coding so that when I get back over here, I can see, oh, I'm with Audrey making the switch right now. Alicia's about to have an appointment with a client. Also, I can see Alicia has a bass lesson this evening because it's a different Alicia color. Do my kids have after school stuff? Here's all my car rental information and travel information for our trip back east. So calendar, I think, is a great example because I'm using different calendars with different colors so that it's color coded, but also my Google calendars are work related. My iCloud calendars are personally related. But yes, now when I look here, they're just all overlaid. I don't, you know what I mean? You ask, are they getting commingled? Mm-hmm. Well, I want them commingled. I want to be able to see that I've got something.
I think my concern with the commingling tends to be more about, I guess, related to contacts and the backups of contacts.
Okay, right? So I'm going to show you one more thing here is that I can also come here and uncheck things. Mm-hmm. And then when I go back to here, it doesn't look so chaotic. Right, so I'm free to say I want to see this calendar, but I don't want to see that calendar, depending on how messy I want this to be. Okay, next example is the contacts example. If I'm in contacts and I go all the way up to the top of the lists area or the groups area, here's my Royal Wise Google, here's my iCloud. And I've got different groups. I happen to use groups pretty thoroughly. So if I go in here, here's all of my iCloud contacts. And if I go into here, here's all of my Google contacts. But if I go to the top where it says all contacts, it's just all of them intermingled. And I don't know which is which.
Okay.
Right?
Okay, so you're accessing them all, but do these contacts belong to the different accounts?
So again, go back to my list. I just happen to have an overarching all contacts option, or I could come down here to just see the Google ones, and I could come down here to see the iCloud ones.
Gotcha, okay.
So I'm allowed to segment them per service or location, where's my data. This data's in iCloud, this data's in Google. But in contacts, and email works the same way. And the email app, when we go to the top, I have an all inboxes area, and then I have each of the inboxes. So if I just want to be personal Jamie, I'd go here. If I'm going to be work Jamie, I'm going to go here. Right? If I want to see my neighborhood, Northeast 58th Avenue stuff, that's there, right? But if I don't care, I can just go to all inboxes and say what just came in, what's new.
So if let's just say hypotheticals here. If I lost access to several of my mail accounts, all except for my iCloud account, and my phone bit the dust somehow because I mistreated it, had to get a new phone, and I'm pulling just my iCloud in because I can't remember all my other contact
passwords for those accounts.
Yeah, will I get everything?
No, you only get the stuff that's in the iCloud area.
Okay.
Right? You got to log into the Google account and turn on Google Contacts and Google Calendars if you want what's in that cloud to come down.
Gotcha. Okay.
Right? But the beauty of it and the pain of it, both, it's both,
Double-edged.
Is everything in one place, and I have the freedom to look at it as one big list or segment it out as I want to. And this is the same example. All inboxes, I can just see everything, or I just want to see my work stuff.
Right.
Right? Calendars, contacts, same thing. People get really confused. They're like, well, what do you mean I have contacts in 3 places? I'm seeing duplicates. Why? Well, because you've got them in Google and you have them in iCloud, and you probably only want them in one. So I'm going to show you the magic setting that you need to know to make your life easier, and that is in the Settings app. And we're going to go to the calendar, and at the very bottom there's going to be this really cool thing that says Default Calendar.
Oh, yes.
Right? When I make a new event, what calendar is it going to go onto? And then I can move it to a different calendar upon creation. But by default, this is the one I use most of the time. I want everything to go there.
Hallelujah.
Okay. Contacts, same thing. Default account for where, like if I say new contact, which cloud service is it going to defaultly go to?
Yeah, okay.
I get this phone call on my stuff isn't syncing. Like, I put it in on my phone, it's not on my computer. Why not? Well, you put it on my phone, or you put it in Gmail, and you're not logged into that Gmail account on that device. We've got this option of cloud syncing to make our life easier, so data's on multiple devices, but we also have multiple clouds. And so now it's not a one-to-many, it's a many-to-many. When's that never going to get confusing or be an issue, right? Most of my clients are like, just here, Jamie, just fix it, just take it, fix it. Like, I don't really want you to go over that 15, 20 minutes of information so that I can understand it. I don't need to understand it. I need it to work. And I make my living helping people with that. And if they don't want to deal with it, I will configure it correctly and then make sure the default is what it needs to be. And they just use it.
I like to understand it, though.
This is for
that realm of I want to understand.
That's why you're the switcher. That's why you're here with me in this webcast, because I know you want to know this stuff, and it's good to know. It's good to know. The other question that I get on this topic, and I'm just going to bring it up because I know it's a question that people have, and so whether you've thought of it or not, how do I get to the cloud? That's the question.
Uh-huh.
Like I know the cloud is a computer. It's a server somewhere on the internet and I can't see it. And I know my data from my phone goes into the cloud, but how do I get to it? How do I use iCloud? What's your answer? What do you think the answer?
My answer in my own brain is just like to pull up a web browser and go to iCloud.com.
That absolutely is the right answer on if you want to get to the cloud version of the data, that is exactly where you would go to do it. Is there a compelling need to do that on a regular basis?
I think it depends on what you're trying to do, but...
That is true, but for your average bear, for your average retired senior, no. I go there when somebody says my data's not syncing and I can see that the phone and the computer aren't the same and I want to see what's up there too. Like, is the phone getting up there or is the laptop getting up there? Because the phone and the computer don't talk to each other. They both talk to the cloud computer. So it talks here, comes down, talks here, comes down, whatever. The answer is, it's so funny because it's so simple, but it's like we just do it. It's intuitive. And so we don't really talk about it or put words to it. You just use the calendar app. You just use the contacts app. You put a contact in the contacts app and the cloud does its thing, right? I add a calendar event and it shows up everywhere. Right? I don't go to the cloud. I don't need to see my data in the cloud. If I want to know what's in the cloud, I go to any device that's logged in with that account, that's syncing with that account, and I look at my data. My data's there, and it's in the cloud because it's here too, right? Yep. I seldom in my day-to-day need to go to the cloud to confirm it.
Sure.
I do it in troubleshooting, when there's an issue.
I think the biggest thing that comes up for me hearing you talk about this is it's always I can manage it a certain way from my mobile device, but I maybe have more options to manage that data from my computer.
Okay, so this is a good thing to talk about as the switcher, as an Android to Apple switcher and also a not PC to Apple switcher. So for you in your specific situation, because you're now iPhone and PC, there is an iCloud for PC desktop, an iCloud for desktop app that you can install. And it will try to sync your contacts and calendars and photos and stuff. It's buggy as all get out.
Oh.
Unless they've improved it recently. And then it's also going to sync your contacts and calendars into Outlook.
Oh, okay.
Right? Which has other inherent problems because Microsoft is infamously known for being very proprietary, and Apple is known for allowing open source things in and on their system, and so that it works with it, right? One of the examples would be everybody in the world uses IMAP for email syncing, but Exchange does not because they created their own protocol called MapI. Right? It says, we're going to create a new protocol and the industry will follow, and nobody follows Microsoft as far as industry leading goes, right? They come up with their own protocols and they're an island. When Apple approaches this, well, what are they doing in Linux? What are they doing in Unix? What are they doing at the server level? Most web servers are going to use IMAP and they're going to use LDAP and they're going to use these common open source internet protocols, and Microsoft's like,
nope.
I do what I want. And that's, I've seen just over time, people in Outlook trying to sync their iCloud data into it have problems because Outlook will behave different, act different, and then push it back up into the cloud different. Next thing you know, they're like, why is my data all mushed up and or shredded or just not what I want? Or the fields aren't mapping quite right, or who knows, right? Who knows what that outcome could be. With this in mind, the question really is like, if you don't have more than one Apple device, do you even need the cloud? Do you ever think about that, right? I don't need my contacts to be up to date in these two places, so why? The question and the answer really comes down to having an online version. Like you said, I'll go to iCloud.com. I'm at the library. I'm on the East Coast. I left my phone in the car, but I got a computer. I can still look this information up. Backing your phone up is the number one reason having a cloud backup in the cloud. You lose your phone, buy a new one, log in, everything comes back. That's where the cloud really is necessary for every user. But you, at this point, aren't syncing your data onto your laptop from your phone. These two things aren't talking to each other. Now, again, I haven't messed around with the iCloud for PC desktop app in a long time, and maybe you can or want to, check it out. Check it out for yourself. Do some research and see if they've improved it.
If it gets buggy and I end up with problems, are you going to rescue me?
I will do the best I can. I absolutely can. But as I said, apples to oranges, and I'm not sure that I have a guarantee for you.
Maybe we'll poke the bear on that one.
Well, but it comes back down to where's the conversation today? Where's my data? Do you put your Google stuff into Outlook? Do you access your Google email in Outlook?
No.
You just go to a web browser and go to Google and do it through do it in Chrome.
Yeah.
Right? And that's, again, because I one time had a client, I love telling these little stories, I had a client, and she was so upset because she was using a Google account inside of Outlook on her Mac, and it wasn't working, and I'm like, what do you expect? These three companies in bed together, they're not bedfellows. It's just not So maybe you're asking too much. Maybe you need to allow the technology to work the way it's supposed to work. Can you make it jump through a hoop of fire? Maybe. Will you get a little burn singe on the edge of something? Maybe. Maybe. Okay. How are we feeling? Give me some feedback on that whole conversation.
So much better. You resolved several issues in one sitting. Actually, we haven't even gotten to the photos and stuff yet, but
what I'm telling you, even photos is an entire half hour to 45 minutes, and maybe should be another session.
Probably.
But
in the meantime, can I ask you
anything?
What I think is a
question?
Because the time has ticked away since I got these new devices and whatever, and there's this alert on my phone that basically says AppleCare Plus.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, to AppleCare or not to AppleCare?
Ooh, wow.
What is it and why?
Yep, why?
And do I do it?
Okay. Okay, so this is going to be another kind of weird answer, and it is a personal preference because it's insurance. Are you an insurance type? Do you feel like you need to insure things? Do you mind paying extra money for something you may never use? And or if you don't do it, are you going to get screwed because you don't have insurance and then you need to fix the phone, replace the phone, or do something? That's, again, it's a personal preference.
But there's different levels of that.
With the majority of Apple devices, you get a 1-year warranty out of the box with nothing. You don't need to add anything. You get a 1-year warranty. So if something's wrong and it's came off the factory line bad, they just fix it, replace it. They'll maybe give you a refurb. Well, honestly, I like refurb devices. I know that they've like fine-tooth combed every circuit, right? Like they've gone through, and they're not going to sell a bad phone twice. That I have faith in. And I learned that actually trying to buy my kids Nintendo DSs, like the little DS games. Mm-hmm. I was talking to a friend, and I was like, I want to buy my kids some Nintendo DSs, but daggone, these things are expensive. and they said, get refurb. It's $150 cheaper. It's $200 instead of $350, and they're better. And I go, what do you mean better? How could a refurb device be better? And they said what I just said to you, is that, well, they've taken it apart and looked at every circuit board and fine-tooth combed it and tested it. They're not going to sell a bad DS twice, 3DS twice. I went, wow, that's a great way to look at it. So, AppleCare Plus on the iPhone gives you a second year of coverage. Okay, so you get the 1 year, and then it'll add the second year if you do but they want you to sign up for it, I think, in the first 90 days or X number of days, or so there's like this little, you're putting the pressure on me. You're trying to create that urgency. And one of Jamie's rules of internet security is don't let them pressure you, right? The minute they're making it feel like you've got to make a decision, maybe you should back off and wonder if it's a scam or not. So good instincts. Yeah. At this one, this one's not a scam. You've had enough time to do the research and you just didn't. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Now on laptops and desktops, I'll just say this: if you buy AppleCare, it turns into a 3-year warranty, from 1 year up to 3 year. On the phone, it just goes up to a second year. But a new thing on laptops and desktops, I'm not sure about iPhones. Maybe it's on iPhones too. I just don't know. Is you can now subscribe and do it year by year by year and go more than 3 years. Where for a long time, it was only new products, new devices, and it was only 3 years as an option. Now, if you've got a 5-year-old laptop, you can buy AppleCare and cover it, even though it's 5 years old. But you have to pay for it year by year, and it's a little bit more expensive.
Wow, that's nice.
So, it's a personal preference, and do you like insurance or do you not like insurance? I will say I do it. I do it for my desktops, especially my laptops. My desktops, not so much, because I'm not carrying them around. I'm not going to drop them. I'm not going to, there's less chance of something stupid, right? Like if I spill water, it's going to be this little keyboard, not the actual CPU unit. Right. If I spill water on the laptop, then, we're all going for a swim. So that's kind of a personal preference. One of the things I really like about, especially the AppleCare for the laptop, is they've got two incidents of accidental damage coverage.
Oh, okay.
Where before they didn't have that. If you dropped it and it was your fault, that's your fault. Like it's not, it didn't come off the line that way. That's not a factory issue. It's not like we know the keyboard is defective. But now they will. If accidental damage can be covered, you got 2 incidents a year even. And even that, I was like, that's really forgiving. I mean, like who's like, that's for the klutz. Who drops their laptop twice in 1 year?
I've seen this, and this is true of a lot of my girlfriends, right? It's like, as women, we tend to, I can get it all in one carry to the, from the car.
Oh, yeah.
No, I don't know how.
Well, with your milk and bread and eggs, knock yourself out, but just laptops and iPads one at a time, please. Like, don't do that with your tech.
But I am doing that with my tech.
Well, but the eggs cost $5 and this was $1,000. I mean, you don't like...
I don't have time to go back to the truck.
Oh, my Lord. Yes, but actually, I'm going to tell you, actually, you do. Once you're on the phone with AppleCare and trying to get your stuff replaced and you've spent 3 hours negotiating, you're going to wonder why you thought that 5 minutes was so valuable.
Yeah, you're probably right about that, actually.
I am right. I'm just going to go ahead. I try not to be cocky about many things, but I'm going to go ahead and take the trophy. I'm going to take the trophy on this one.
So my husband helped me make this purchase, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he was adamant that I get this screen cover thing that is glass,
mm-hmm.
apparently.
Mm-hmm.
Like, And so I guess my question on that is like, is this thing, if I drop this and this breaks, do we know if this is actually going to cause glass splinters like the same way? Has anybody tested this?
Okay, so a couple things.
And why do iPhones have to be so fancy like that? I don't remember any of my Androids ever having a glass surface protector.
So it is Gorilla Glass, and so it is a good sturdy glass covering. And as of the iPhone 12, I think, or possibly 13, I think it was the 12 because mine has it, they actually put a layer of ceramic and melt it on now. So the glass is extra sturdy because they actually do Cornell or what, the people that make ceramics, right? So they actually have worked with Cornell. And they now have, and they put a layer of ceramic and then heat it until it melts on and it's clear and see-through, but can still do the touch stuff. So I've been feeling really secure and solid about my iPhone 12 Pro and the 13 and the 14 that's coming out, but so I don't put a protector on my screen. I don't put an extra layer.
Oh, you don't?
No, I don't.
That actually shocks me a little bit.
Yeah, I personally don't. I think
Wow.
I trust the glass. Also, I'm relatively aware of my phone.
Yeah.
I felt this way for a long time, but I will tell you this, and this
You're
is
not juggling with milk and eggs.
No. And I don't put it in my back pocket. Women in their back pocket that is sticking out.
Yeah, in the bra and the
I like that stuff. I'll forget about it. My lovely wife Alicia dropped her phone about 3 weeks ago. She was taking the son out for some Pokeball, Poke Cube, and I immediately got a text her that said I dropped my phone and cracked my screen. She just dropped it on that exact right point right here, right? If it hits on that corner, I don't care what you have as protection. If you hit it just right, it's gonna shatter. Right? I mean, I've got just a little thin case. I don't have a big, this is just a thin leather case. And that's all I carry. And it gives me a little bit of protection, but what it really gives me is grip. Right? And so that's what's more important for me is that grip. But I don't cover the front, no.
Okay, and so if you're not covering the front and you drop it and the glass breaks, would that be something you send it to the AppleCare?
You would contact AppleCare and see if you have coverage for it, and if not, she just took it to a local guy down the street, and he replaced the glass front for her.
Wow. Okay.
And it wasn't super crazy expensive. It was actually affordable. And that brings me back to another part of this topic. And I'm a little hesitant to even talk about it because I don't understand it myself, right? I'm the expert, and if I don't understand, how does anybody have a chance kind of thing? I mean, I get the hypocrisy of what I'm saying. Is that like Verizon offers insurance, Costco offers coverage, AT&T offers coverage, and should I get the Verizon coverage or should I get AppleCare instead? Which should I choose? And I'm even telling you, I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know because they're so complicated, so complex on what's covered, right? And then the ease of, I have a case. How easy is it to get that case pushed through? Right? I know AppleCare and I know Apple, and they make it really easy. You call the phone number, you tell them what's going on, they give you a case number. And they're just like, we're sending you a new one, or send it here, or take it to the Apple store, and we'll handle it,
Right.
And Apple's such a big company that they're pretty forgiving, you know what I mean? They're pretty much like, well, we're going to try to fix it, and if we can't fix it, there will be a replacement.
Right.
I don't know that Verizon can do that way.
Without deep diving insurances and all that kind of stuff, I guess where my brain is sort of taking this to is, as an Apple expert, as somebody who works on people's devices all the time, the average person, you've probably seen the terrors that people inflict on their devices, right? And so it's what are the things that you see the most? You kind of mentioned
shattered screens. Shattered screens is that's the only damage that's visible.
Yeah, okay.
I can't see if they hurt the Wi-Fi adapter. I can't see if the impact of dropping it on the ground disconnected a circuit. You know what I mean? That's just not something that the eye can see, and until you pull the phone apart, are you going to find out? And I'll just tell you this one thing, as far as, again, 20 years and an Apple expert and been dealing with iPhones since the day iPhones started existing. I don't feel like the phones are the same after you take them apart and put them back together. I mean, I don't necessarily trust the process to a certain degree, and maybe I'm showing my age this time. Maybe, you know.
I don't know about you, but you can't even get into these things anymore.
You really can, and it's glass front and back, and you know, you see people online shattering the glass and picking it out and then putting a new cover on it, and it just doesn't look fun. But battery replacements is the number one repair question that is asked. Is my battery's going, the health of my battery's not good. By the way, in settings under battery, there's a battery health option. It will give you a percentage of the health of your battery. My phone is a 12, so there's been the 12S and the 13. So I'm 3 years old, coming up on 4 years, and I'm at 85% battery health.
Wow, that's super good.
Not really. I mean, people complain. Like, I was a 5-year-old.
Good to this old Android.
You know, yeah, right. I got people with iPhone 5s going, my phone's fine. I don't need to upgrade my 5. And it's like they're up to 14 now. Maybe you should think about upgrading your 5.
That was sort of one of the catalyst things as to what forced me into a switch.
So Androids don't have good batteries? Is that what you're saying?
The battery just wasn't... I mean, my husband's iPhone, was lasting all day and all night. He's on it all the time, and I never see him charge the thing.
Yeah.
Right? Ever. Yeah. And I'm like going back to the charger 2 and 3 and 4 times a day.
Well, I bet he's got a wireless charging pad or a MagSafe, and he's just setting it on there, and you're not noticing, right?
Cheating?
Maybe. I mean, the new phones have this, you know, the ring on the back, right? So there's a circular ring in here that's the wireless charger, and so literally, if you have a MagSafe magnet, just click, right? And so he might be kind of playing you a little bit there by.
I might have to go snooping around and
setting it down on a wireless charging pad and. But yeah, I have seen multiple times people with 7s and 8s go, I don't want to buy a new phone. I'm just going to get the battery replaced, and then it comes back and the battery's crap within a month.
Wow.
You know, and it just doesn't stick. It doesn't work. It doesn't hold. You know, and so for me, and that's when like the new phone a year plan was like, that's cool. Like I just get a new phone every year. You know. We buy corporately, right? We buy them for the company. So we wait at least 2 years, and if I can squeeze out a third, I will. You know, for me, it really comes down to what is the new phone's capability.
Sure.
You know, and I'm teaching classes. Do I need to demo? Is there something that I need to show people that my old phone can't show them?
Right.
And so it turns out the 14 is one of those jumps. The 14 Pro can do things that the 12 and 13 can't. And I am going to need to move up to a 14 Pro. Granted, nobody else on my staff has to. You know, Peyton and Jeff don't have to have the new phones, you know, but I do. So, you know.
Wild. Well, I'll tell you, you know, we talked about the, you know, cracked screen and things that you kind of can't see. With one of my Androids, for whatever reason, the screen started looking like it had gel underneath the glass layer.
Ooh. Did you have a screen protector on it?
No, but it wasn't like, you know, submerged in water or anything like that. I mean, it never.
You know, the only time I've seen that is when somebody puts on a screen protector and then it kind of peels away a little bit or something, and then you get like bubbles underneath.
It just looked like somebody, you know, took a syringe and injected some goo underneath the.
Well, you know, you're not selling me on switching to Android. I'll tell you that it's not working. No matter how hard you try, Audrey, I think I'm going to resist.
You know, with Apple too, like, what can I expect?
Oh heck no, you couldn't. No. Expecting it of Apple is like, there's no way you could expect it of Apple, and also it's never going to happen. It's just Apple products are very well made. I mean, you can't argue that. Yeah. I mean, even Android people can't argue that Apple makes a good product.
They certainly make a good box for the product to go.
They're definitely known for their packaging. They are meticulous with their packaging.
I was having trouble figuring out how to open the darn thing.
Well, so let me tell you one cool fact, and I'll tell you about how to open everything, because it's all. They actually they don't put the plastic wrap around the outside of the iPhones anymore.
Love that.
And they literally save something like 100 tons of plastic waste by just eliminating
I love that.
that extra packaging. Every time Apple has an event, they actually go over their environmental impact. They talk about, what their impacts are, the fact that every metal inside the phones and the iPads are now recycled metals. They don't get new metals. Everything going into the phones is recycled.
Oh, that's awesome.
Okay. Almost every single thing you get from Apple that looks like it's like hermetically sealed, somewhere there's a pull tab. There's a little tiny something somewhere, and it's normally like orange. It'll have a little orange dot on it. And if you find it, and then it just like a FedEx package. Our FedEx package has like the tear-offs at the top.
Uh-huh.
Almost every single thing you get from Apple is going to have that. Even if you get an iMac in the mail, the brown box outside will have one, and then you get into that, and there's the white box inside, and there will be one for that too, and you'll open that up. Mm-hmm. Right? Even down to the battery that you plug the USB-C cable in is going to have this like plastic wrap on it, and there's one little place that you pull, and the whole thing kind of tears, and so almost everything. Now,
you said it when you said hermetically sealed, right? Like that's really how it felt. Is I'm like, okay.
Yeah. It's sterile. Yeah. It's
tricks. I'm not going to be able to get back out of this thing.
Well, getting the box out of the box is the hard part.
Totally.
It seems like it's never coming off. It just seems like it's never gonna.
Yeah,
okay, I think we're winding up. I think we've had a really good time. Do you have anything else on this topic you want to throw at me today?
No, but I'm super excited about the photos thing, and just kind of going over, how to navigate library and managing that stuff. That's super exciting, and I'm definitely eager to make sure that I'm not capturing video by accident and audio by accident. Just in the sense of sending somebody a photo. I've seen this happen, right? So it's like, there's...
Well, and some of that's not photos, some of that's messages, because there's actually a little button in messages that if you press and hold it, it will start a video and or voice recording, and then just send it off as a text message.
Oh, wow. Paranoia just came back.
Yeah, so you gotta just know that how it works and make sure that you don't do it that way. But we can definitely take a look at that. But honestly, the whole where are my photos and how do I move them from point A to point B is a great conversation, and there's all sorts of things to onion peel when it comes to that one.
Thank you, Amy.
Another great episode of Making the Switch, Android to Apple. Let me ask you a question about that. I keep I'm working the title. Did you switch from Android to Apple, or did you switch from Android to iPhone?
That's the question,
right? So does Android refer to the physical device or just the operating system, or both? Right, because this is an iPhone. I know this is an iPhone.
Yeah.
Right? It's running an operating system called iOS 16.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But it's the Apple platform.
Right.
So Android is a platform. This I know, right?
Yeah.
And then they make Android OS. Is that what they call it? Android OS?
I have no idea.
I know? You're not helping.
Android and PC and all those things are just... There's such gray lines. Am I an Android if I'm sitting at my PC but don't have any mobile devices around me?
No, you're not an Android at all. You are a Windows user. You're a PC. You're
user.
Right, but the thing about that
talk.
the thing about that talk. Give me
talk.
The thing about that non-Apple world. Right, you laughed at the very first episode. I said the Apple universe, and you're like the Marvel universe, dun, 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 right?
Universe.
So when you're not in the Apple universe, and you're in that other world, what they don't have that Apple does have that makes it simple is the same person doing the hardware and the software. Right, they're making the hardware and they're developing the software that goes on that hardware, and it's the same company, and everything works together because of that.
Wow.
Right, so now I'm going to have to go get a Dell computer or a Lenovo computer, and then I'm going to put Windows on it, and then I'm going to put Adobe software inside of Windows on my Dell, and then I'm going to go get an LG phone and put the Android operating system on that,
It's so convoluted.
And now I'm going to try to figure out how to get my Android OS and my Windows operating system to share data back and forth in a smooth cloud syncing manner.
But it's still, I mean, it happens. I mean, I've been that this
Well, I'll tell you the answer, and I'll tell you the answer for that side. It's Google. It's a Google account. Google is a great company in that sense, where they have created a product that is actually cross-platform. I've had many issues with apples to oranges people where Google's the answer. It's the only middle ground that works well in both spaces. Right? I don't like dealing with Exchange servers on Apple devices. I don't like dealing with Windows software, Windows servers. They're hard to configure. They're not easy to configure. Everybody else is put in your username and password and boom, it just connects, right? We're good, Yeah. Where with Exchange, it's like, well, what's the Exchange server name? And, well, we're going to try to auto-discover it, but it may not work. And if it doesn't work, you've got to type it in. And what's the server name? And I don't, right? Google.com, right? And that's where Google has done a really good job of creating that ability. And that's like, even for this conversation of switching of Android to Apple, is if you're on an Android and you're using Google as your main account, which is what is expected, Google Play Store, and my contacts and calendars are in my Google Cloud and all of that, I'll buy you an iPhone, log into your Google account, all your stuff will come down and work perfectly.
Yeah.
Just no issue at all.
Yeah. Well, for years I've said I am such a Google girl, right? Like, I mean, I ran a whole business based off of that platform. And
well, I mean, honestly, even for RoyalWise, I mean, for us, we are an Apple-based company. We train Apple. It's our bread and butter. I mean, that's how I make my money is understanding, using, and training on Apple. But when I needed to change my email hosting, and I didn't want to have it at royalwise.com. I didn't want it on my web host anymore. It was too much of a hassle, and I had to configure, and then spam, and then the callbacks and all this blah. It was just mayhem. And then when I looked at, well, who can I go to? Well, I don't want a Bluehost or a ReadyHost or like a weird, I don't know who they are or where they are type of thing, HostGator or GoDaddy. No, I don't want to go to those either. And so my only real options were either Outlook, Microsoft Outlook, or Exchange, or Google. And it used to be G Suites, and now it's Google Workspace.
Right.
And you kind of have to dig a little deeper in this conversation too, because if I go to GoDaddy, there's a really good chance it's an Exchange server that they're using. Because I don't know if that's common knowledge, but GoDaddy uses Exchange servers. And even for my web hosting, I don't want my web hosting done on an Exchange server. I want it to be on a CentOS machine. I want it to be on, a big server with a good web server operating system on it. Honestly, I don't even want to think about it anymore. I want to pay some other company to host it and fix it. Right, exactly. I'm that guy. I'm on the other side now. Right. But I moved my email hosting to Google because they're the best. I mean, I got to say that. I'm going to say it out loud. I'm an Apple guy, but Apple doesn't do email hosting. They don't provide that kind of a service. Google was the most secure. I did my research. I'm not, I do this for a living. they're the most secure. They work. They're easy. Right? And once you pay them, and this is something people don't always remember about Google, I realize about Google. If you have a free Google account, I don't know if you remember, but their privacy sheet used to be about 30 pages, and they reduced it down to 1 page. And that 1 page says, you don't have any privacy. That's what it says. No, honest to God, because if you have a free Google account, I'm using Google email for free, they have every right to harvest information about how you use that account because you're using it for free. It's their business model. Why is Google searching free? Well, how's that search engine free? Like their main bread and butter is free? No. They're selling ads, they're aggregating data, selling that data off the back end to everybody they can, and they make billions and billions and billions of dollars by aggregating data based on behaviors that they can monitor because they're giving away a free service.
Oh my gosh. I just had another question come in, so I have to write that down so that next time.
Well, and so here's the part that I say to people at this point is, if you pay Google for Google Workspace, now you've got privacy. Now they can't harvest data based on your behaviors because you're giving them money for a professional service. And there was a little bit of a Audrey paranoia hump to get over on that thought process of, well, am I really private? Do I have privacy with does Google ever give anybody privacy? That's not their business model.
You have to assume you have none.
Well, but again, with a free account, you have to make that assumption. And I got to the point, well, with a paid account, and I read I actually read the terms and agreements. I'm not going to turn into a human scent iPad.
You're that nerdy. I love it.
Well, I mean, it was a corporate decision. We spent a lot of money on it, and I want to make sure that it was right.
Good job.
And now I would assign you to do it, because that's why we pay.
Oh,
that's why you're saying I'm that guy. Guess what? Guess if it happens again, guess who's going to handle it?
Things that are in my skill set.
So much fun. So do you have another question today, or you wrote it down? You're going to hold it off?
I'm going to hold it off because, they just kind of keep coming to me, and
no, keep it up. Keep it up. Maybe we'll even do a couple episodes in a week or whatever, and try to kind of just nail this down. And then publish it eventually. Figure out what we're gonna do with all this fun stuff. So, hey everybody, again, Jamie Pollock with Roy Wise. Thanks for watching, making the switch from Android to Apple, or the switcher, or whatever we're gonna call it. I don't know. Another big thanks. I always give big thanks to Audrey for being such a good sport, being vulnerable, right? Sharing some vulnerability about technology, but also helping me and everybody else get some stuff straight, right? Like, the more we do this, the more we get straight. So, okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
What do you call somebody that's wearing AirPods? Doesn't matter. They can't hear you anyway. Well, that's it for today. If you haven't already followed us on our social media, the links will be down in the description, and we'll see you next time.